About 562,000 have now died in the U.S. from COVID since the start of the pandemic, nearly 19,000 in Ohio alone.
Betsy, it's not only taken an emotional toll, but for many, a financial one as well. But as consumer investigator Danielle Serino reports, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is stepping in to help.
We were going to share the news with him on Christmas. And Christmas got canceled this year because my dad wasn't feeling very well.
After 2 years of trying, Whitney couldn't wait to tell her dad, Daniel, he'd finally have a grandchild.
By New Year's Eve of 2020, my dad could barely breathe. I remember calling him on the phone that day, and I was just in tears. I just kept on telling him, Dad, I have a Christmas present for you. I can't wait to share this for you.
She did eventually share the news, but by text message, because by then he was in the hospital with COVID, hooked up to oxygen. 3 weeks later, he was dead at just 62 years old.
I wish I could have seen his reaction. I wish I could have held his hand. I wish I could have shared that moment in person.
But she also wished she had time to grieve. But the family was now scrambling to plan and pay for an unexpected funeral. Dad's drywall business was Mom's main source of support.
She's so young. I want her to be able to live in her home and be able to not make any drastic changes in light of this situation. There's a lot of years lost now in terms of, being able to save for retirement.
But they and many of the more than 500,000 people who lost family to COVID are getting some help with the financial burden. FEMA is giving families up to $9,000 per funeral for expenses incurred after January 20th of last year.
It really is going to be a great help that the government's providing for these families who, in many situations, were not expecting to bear the expense of a funeral.
A big expense, according to Jack Mitchell with the National Funeral Directors Association. The average cost of a funeral and burial, $9,000, not including flowers or transportation. He says they're alerting all families they've worked with, although not everyone is eligible for help.
Well, many times people will pay for a funeral in advance. So if it's that situation that turns out to have been COVID, the government does not reimburse for that.
But with $2 billion to give away, many families will now be able to focus on healing rather than finances.
It's bittersweet, but we still know that we'll teach our little son about his grandpa. Be sure to honor his legacy in a time of such sadness.
As if these families haven't suffered enough, FEMA says scammers are reaching out to people offering to help them register for the program. FEMA will only contact you if you've already applied for help. So if you get an unsolicited letter, email, or phone call, ignore it. I put more information about the program on our website. I'm Danielle Serino, 3 News.
Danielle, thanks. Betsy, I hadn't heard a thing about this program, but think of the number of people. There have been over 500,000 deaths in the United States. So if you've lost a loved one, and that was an issue for you, you really have to look into this program, and I'm sure we have it all up on our website, but this can help a lot of people.
Definitely, and think of the medical bills they're wading through at the same time.
Exactly.
There's just a lot that they have to keep up on. So we have more information at WKYC.com.